Again, it was with chairmanship with the United States and Egypt and Qatar and Turkey. I assert on a number of important issues, and I would like to remind you that among all the scenes of the war, the scenes that we have all seen and we suffered from, we have seen it and watched it on the social media and television. Egypt standed with its leadership and its people and its army and all its institutions and its diplomacy to do its role in a very strong and transparent and honorable and wisdom way in that issue from the first day. Our army was always standing in a pride to protect its national security. We did not and will not let go of our rights for the sake of our beloved nation, Egypt. Egypt standed and supported our brothers in Palestine with all our efforts in light of the possible opportunities that we could provide hope with. We did not let go for 1 day in spite of all the rumors and denials and doubts of Egypt's role. Egypt exerted all efforts with other brothers, Qatar and friends, the United States and Turkey and all the other countries in all the international fronts and all the international conferences. Egypt was always concentrating on showing the Palestinian problem and showing and talking about the right of the Palestinian people and the right to have a Palestinian independent state. And we succeeded in our cooperation with our brothers to have a common international vision and opinion to support the Egyptian stance regarding this war since its beginning. And there was an international opinion formed to support the Palestinians and to support the idea of a state, the Palestinian independent state, which was clear in the meetings of the UN with the recognition of the Palestinian state from many states. Egypt in that time played a role through its organization, different administration, either diplomacy or the presidency to or vital entities to stop, was working to stop the war, to create a ceasefire either in the middle of the war or the final agreement, which was reigned by success during the past few days. And we stood, and our vision was clear from the very beginning. The plans were clear for us that the plans to liquidify the case and to move the Palestinian from their homeland under the pretext that they are suffering and they need to go to other places to be able and capable to live. It was clear. We rejected any trials to let the Palestinians out of their lands, to displace the Palestinians. Concerning that point, I would like to salute President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the President of the Republic, because since the first day of this crisis, he was the pillar of security of the Egyptian state with his clear vision and his stance that was never changed a bit regarding that issue. From the first moment, if we follow the statement of the President and all his reaction and stances from the very beginning, and thank God, God Almighty realized our dream and what happened in that summit. The principle that Egypt was calling for, there were the basis of the agreement and the peace that we have signed on its points during that summit. We all followed the President's speech at the summit, in which he asserted on these principles and the Palestinian rights to establish their own state, and all the steps which are taken on the ground today to pave the way, hope God's will to realize that in the future. Therefore, this step that we all are following honorably is returning for Egypt and returning for all of us that Egypt is always prioritizing peace. The President said that Egypt was the first state to take this decision, which was difficult in the 70s by late President Mohammed Anwar Sadat to move forward in the peace treaty. Today Egypt is doing this again, not for itself but for its brothers in Palestine, to take the path and to take the initiative with our brothers Qatar, the friends, United States and Turkey, with all the friendly country, all our support country. We should continue the steps, the following steps for this agreement that we wish would end the suffering of the Palestinians. We all hope that after the ceasefire is taking place, we follow the next steps. The most important is the reconstruction. And Egypt, God's will host the conference for reconstruction within the coming period. We are sure that there are still difficult steps to be taken in the negotiation and asserting the situation on the ground and move to the other phases, but we are hoping that with our faithfulness and the strong negotiation with the participation of the supportive countries to the success of this initiative, that all these efforts would be successful, God's will. The last step, that Minister of Social Solidarity, I'm honored to have her with us, and I assert with her that you all remember that there were calls that Egypt does not open its border crossing to enter the humanitarian aid, and we are asserting that the border crossing is from both sides. Egypt is controlling its own side, but the other side is closed. It's out of our hand, it's in the hands of the other side, and it was clear that after the agreement today, there is a huge number of humanitarian aid entering from the Egyptian side, and would leave to the Minister of Social Solidarity to talk more about what have been entered throughout the past phase before leaving the ground for her. I would like to talk about the internal issues. I would like to talk about the economic file. I would like to repeat again that during my tour in Qalyubiya Governorate, I talked, as you have followed, the announcement of Standard & Poor's to increase the Egyptian credit rating for Egypt with 1 point to move from B- to B, with a positive and stable look. It is the highest credit rating for Egypt by Standard & Poor's throughout the past 7 years. Fitch also asserted that we are increased in our rating as well during the past few months, and with a positive and stable outlook. All these were guarantees and showing that Egypt and its government performed a great job, which led to the positive indices. And look, what fulfilled that is the report that was launched by the IMF by a positive outlook for Egypt for 25 from 4% to 4.3%, and its expectation that 2026 would increase to 4.5% minimum. The increase, the growth, also the World Bank increased its expectation to more than this. All these international institutions related to the economy are asserting that Egypt is moving in the right direction in the economic development, and the Egyptian state is bearing the fruits of the major developments that we have been doing throughout the past period. I would like to stop at this point and leave to my colleague, Minister of Social Solidarity, to show you the numbers in details for what happened during the past few days. Then we'll be taking all the questions and comments. Minister, thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. I would like at the beginning to talk about the direction by directives of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in all the platforms on the importance of entering the flow of humanitarian aid in a good and sustainable and urgent way, and fulfill all that in as the right of the Palestinians. Egypt is the door for opening the humanitarian aid entry at the beginning of the war in October 2023. 725 days Egypt is entering humanitarian aid. That is the highest and biggest humanitarian aid that happened during the past 30 years. Egypt entered from its from the Egyptian people and the Egyptian family more than 70% of the aid, of humanitarian aid that entered through the Rafah border crossing. The Egyptian Red Crescent is the mechanism to enter the aid to our brothers in the Gaza Strip, and these mechanisms are working through the international law and its principles. And the Red Crescent made a fleet to enter the trucks to Gaza. The mechanism to enter the humanitarian aid succeeded to break the famine during the past months by increasing the number and amount of aid. And our Palestinian brothers are waiting more and more from the world, from the different emotional and the humanitarian aid. The supporters from the Red Crescent, our contributors, depended on the latest technology. Our volunteers to evaluate and give codes to the trucks and increase the aid. The Egyptian Red Crescent had a technical operation room, and we have logistical rooms in Al Arish, 100,000 square meter. This is the amount of depot. It is the biggest during our history. 30,000 volunteers and ways to run the humanitarian aid entry on a humanitarian and international level. The delivery, the Rafah border crossing was closed from the Palestinian side. We worked on Karam Abu Salim crossing, and we entered the humanitarian aid after they were coded through Karam Abu Salim. We had an operation room to the local and international aid. We have been following a mechanism for coding the trucks with collaboration with the Red Crescent. So the trucks, each box is having a barcode. We know where its direction is. If it entered Gaza, it was delivered, or it will return for maybe some complaints from their sides, or some aid. The truck come and return more than 5 times, and this continue as the Red Crescent is insisting on the entry. It is strange that the beds were returning, which was strange for the bedroom for ICU, sometimes the formula for children, but we were insisting on entering these aids, and thank God we succeeded in that at the end. The cooperation with international diplomatic missions. We worked with 59 countries, 52 countries were giving aid and others were giving financial aid. We worked with ICRC for the International Red Crescent, the Red Crescent and the Arab League, EU, and all the international organization of the EU, United Nations. We also received from 52 countries maritime deliveries, 939 planes. As I've mentioned, these were the biggest humanitarian assistance to Gaza, 599, maybe 600,000 tons, 49,000 tons, 59,000 tons of medical aid, 45,000 tons, 82,000 tons of energy, hospital, 6 hospitals, 2 hospitals in El Arish and 4 hospitals in Gaza Strip. Egypt is having tents inside Gaza, and that was highlighted by the media, that we have tents in Gaza for services inside the strip. For the first time, for rescuing, there was cooking in state, and meals were provided, hot meals were done in a state and given to another state, bakery shops, 2 million loaf of breads, hot meals, 500,000 hot meals, and 700,000 meals, dry meals. The international organization of the UN mentioned that it was a unique experience in that humanitarian kitchen. The convoys from 27th of July, they were excessive. During that very critical period, till the 14th of October, 62,000 tons with 3,000, more than 3,000 trucks, 3,814, 62,700 tons, flour, and it is the base for the food, 407,000 tons. Basket of food, we reached more than 3 million. It is 2.7 million basket of food. The Red Crescent offered help for the injured in Egypt. Also, the Ministry of Health, they also enter during the first phase, as the border was crossing was open from both sides. 107 and the accompanying people. The injured were 7,277. We offered help for the families, financial help for the people who were in need, rescue operation, 45,000, and 225 medical services. And it is continuing till this moment. The diplomatic efforts, we received more than 200 visits in El Arish and Cairo for international figures. I mentioned the accompanying visitors with the injured. We have with us in the centers the 6,941 accompanying visitors from our brother from Gaza in 16 places in Cairo and other governorates. We were offering all the services and all the food services and medical services, also psychological help and assistance for children after what they have been through, which will be carried out with them in their subconscious. We are offering from inside of the temporary places food, blankets, financial help, psychological help, as I've mentioned. The Red Crescent, Mr. President, is continuing, as I've mentioned, to enter the humanitarian aid. We entered the 50th convoy. The Egyptian civil society, families, and the developmental organization, all these allies, played an important role in providing assistance and humanitarian help. The Minister of Social Solidarity is continuing organizing with all the different entities to facilitate all the challenges in front of international and national organizations who are willing to send help for our brother in Gaza. I would like to use this press conference to ask the support from all the viewers to provide help for the Red Crescent to continue their work. The international help in time of war is a necessity to decrease the suffering and protect the dignity, and Egypt is saluting and continuing the efforts for what have been destroyed by the war and for better future for our brothers in Gaza. Thank you, Minister. And I assert that what was shown by the Minister is part of the efforts exerted. There were efforts by the government institution, the Ministry of Health, all the shows that were provided by Minister of Health, by the very critical surgeries that were taking place, and the hospitals that were providing medical help for the injured, and from our brothers, Palestinian. Again, we have implanted on the ground all the efforts, the Red Crescent of Egypt, that is doing great effort and will continue in that work in the coming phase. Go ahead. The world today is waiting the opening, the inauguration of the museum. We are talking about the preparation of the government for the inauguration of the gem on Egyptian soil. Thank you. We are talking about the preparation, as I'm going tomorrow in a visit to see the preparation on the ground, to make sure that it would be in good way, that would satisfy us for the great inauguration which we gift from Egypt to the world, that museum that which is giving a great gift to the world. Our expectation that this important touristic destination and historical destination would increase the revenues and the flow of tourists for Egypt. I am following the numbers from the manager of the museum, and he asserted that the expected numbers visiting today, even before the inauguration, even before the opening of the main galleries of the Tutankhamun gallery, the number of tourists is increasing. It is more than the international museums. That is showing that our ideas is after this mega inauguration in the coming few days, it will help again for the flow of tourists to see the valuables. هاني النحاس صدى البلد. There are many reports which talking about reconstruction of Gaza will take 10 years. And the estimate is $50 to $70 billion. Do we have a plan by Egypt to participate or help in the reconstruction and development of Gaza to continue its role? Of course, I would like to remind you there is an imagination, a vision, which was approved by the Arab states and Islamic states. Many states, they asserted that the initial plan with the participation of Egypt, with the Palestinian Authority. Therefore, this plan is a framework with many details. After the signing of the agreement today, how to make it, translate it into that with a time frame that Egypt again would participate in that. Part of this plan would be one of the main outcome of the reconstruction summit, which will be taking place soon. For sure, Egypt, with its companies which contributed in the reconstruction and development in Egypt throughout the past 10 years, would be the most important entities who will contribute in the reconstruction, as Egypt is the neighbor, the first neighbor for Gaza, and therefore from the logistic point of view, and as the strength of these companies and its experience on the ground, they will have an important role in the reconstruction. Thank you, sir. Of course, sir, all the indicators for the Egyptian economy are not coming from the vein. So we would thank you, sir, and all your teamwork, the efforts exerted throughout the past years. As you have mentioned, sir, that the Egyptian citizens should feel that improvement. Some are talking about the gap between expenditure and the income. There might be a governmental vision. Instead of decreasing the prices, so the citizen wouldn't feel that improvement. For sure, this issue is we are looking at. Every year we are taking a big initiative to increase the salaries and increase the minimum, but the citizens are saying we need more steps. I would like to say more than 80% from the workforce in the state, in the private sector. The private sector today have no regulation to increase the salaries. So there is a mechanism, but I would like to assert that the direction is to increase the income gradually with the economic development and the increase of the income that would take place with preserving the prices and maybe decreasing the prices for certain commodities. That would narrow the gap within the coming phase. I would like to assert that more the economy would be stable. These indicators are not numbers. These are the result of work on the ground. Good new job opportunities, new projects, investment pumped, salaries increased. That would lead to the GDP to increase. All these are indicators which would lead to what we are talking about the coming phase. We are moving in the right direction. The state is moving in that direction, and all our challenge is to minimize the time for this gap to decrease as soon as possible. Go ahead, please. Mr. Prime Minister, please, as the indicators of the economy, the annual meeting of the IMF and the World Bank and the economic group is there. As our program with the IMF, the meetings, the annual meetings are taking place, and the governor of the central bank and the economic ministers are there in Washington, and throughout the day we are communicating with them, and there are meetings taking place, and I would like to assert that things are moving in a good direction. As the report of the IMF, the last report is asserting that we are improving the expectation for the performance of the Egyptian economy, taking place throughout the meetings to discuss the program that Egypt with the IMF is having, and in the few coming days things would move in the good direction, and there will be news concerning this subject as we finish the meetings, God's will, in the coming days. Go ahead. Sir, I would like to suggest something, and I have a question. At the Sharm el-Sheikh summit, the President of the United States, Trump, said the decrease of crime rate in Egypt, and it is a very important point for Egypt. How we can use that as a certificate by the President of the biggest state in the world. It is a good say how we can use that to promote tourism. The question is, what is in the mind of Egyptian citizen? Besides the commodities and services, what would happen in the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, the coming plan for Egypt, the procedures in the coming phase? As the President of the United States is hailing the decrease in the crime rate in Egypt, and Egypt is having the highest level of security and stability, and we cross our fingers, nothing would threaten this. That is a great, of course, promotion for the situation in Egypt. As you have said, it is a great, of course, a great say and great certificate that would help us as Ministry of Tourism in the coming phase to promote for decreasing and doubling the number of tourists. You know our plan to double the numbers, and our expectation this year, as it would be finished in the coming months till the end of 2025. God's will, it would be a year that we have never witnessed before, with the numbers of tourists or the income from tourism or tourism revenues. It is a step that we would like to double in the coming 3 to 4 years, and therefore to use the idea that Egypt is enjoying the highest number of security and stability among the world countries. It is part of our campaign, beside the inauguration of the GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, which would be, God's will, a message regarding that issue. The subject of Ethiopian Dam, please revise the speech by President Abdel Fattah Sisi at the inauguration of the Water Week. His speech were clear. Again, we are asserting again for the Egyptian citizen to rest assured the Egyptian state is running this file with great wisdom and patience. That doesn't mean, if the President said, it doesn't mean if we are patient and we are keen on a negotiation with our brother in Ethiopia. It's not coming of weakness, but on the opposite. As a state, we are aware the challenges. We were capable to surpass the filling of the dam, and we did not suffer, but the reaching an agreement, binding agreement with our brother in Ethiopia and Sudan, how to manage all the water file throughout the Blue Nile. In particular, it is the common Nile between the three countries that we hope that in the coming phase that would happen. Again, I would like to assert on the principles and our bases that we would never let go of our historical rights in the Nile water. We would not let go of any drop that comes to Egypt. It's our right in that issue. Mr. Prime Minister, the file concerning the Palestinian issue, it is the important file for the citizen. After peace summit in Sharm el-Sheikh, there were some skirmishes. What is the message on the ground? The message for both sides to abide by the ceasefire agreement, not to return to zero position again. Also, the amount of humanitarian aid to enter the Gaza Strip, as 600 trucks are entering. The Israeli authorities announced that they will decrease the number of entry of trucks. Internally, the increase of the price of gold It is depending on demand and offer, but that would complicate the pricing of gold and dowry, and government could enter. Let me start from the gold price. It is an international pricing. It is a commodity that we cannot enter in its pricing. So no interference for the government in the gold price. It is in the whole world in very high pricing in all the world countries. It is related to uncertainty in the world, and I would like to say that it was faced by criticism, and they didn't believe that we are facing an international economic crisis, not only in Egypt. The whole world is in foggy state. With the decrease of the major currency controlling the economy of the world, people outside are trying to protect their money by buying gold. It is the only safe haven to stabilize their belongings, so it increase. It is a phenomenon on the international front, not only in Egypt. The price of gold in Egypt is related to the international price. I would like to assert this. Again, I would like to Minister to talk about the amount of humanitarian aid entering. At this issue, I would like to talk. Since we achieved this step, important step, that situation is finishing. We have a very difficult path of negotiations among different parties to continue the roadmap. It is not easy, and we do not expect things to move on smoothly that we wish for, but we expect some bounces and problems on the ground and some slowing down and stoppage at certain points, but this is the nature of these negotiations, and these are tough steps. As Egypt, we have a great experience in that, and we are aware of these challenges, and we would continue in moving forward in that direction from all parties, all concerned parties, and the mediators. Egypt, the United States, Qatar, Turkey would be guaranteeing all these obligations. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Our commitment of 600 trucks, we want to enter 600 trucks. The right is flooding Gaza with aid, with humanitarian aid, because they need it. So 600, we need more and more. So 600 is still not the number that we wish for to flood Gaza with aid. If we enter 600 trucks, if we flood, we can enter more economic help. So the prices of commodities wouldn't increase in Gaza. Today, almost 300 will enter. After this, tomorrow we'll enter 600. The border crossing only this moment is Karam Abu Salim. There are 5 border crossings for Gaza, 2 border crossings in Egypt, Karam Abu Salim and Rafah. If the border crossings are open from Palestine, we would enter more quick and better quantities. The help and assistance are there. We don't know how much it will cover, but the help coming from the Egyptians are humongous. The Egyptian citizens are very, very noble and with all the economic problem, but yet they are offering help. We are receiving humanitarian aid from the United Nations and from other countries. We will continue 600 trucks. The final 2 questions. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. It is clear that the Egyptian state is doing great success internally or internally. Tomorrow, Egypt is member of Human Rights Council. Beside other issues related to the Sharm el-Sheikh summit, we were talking about developing the governmental institutions and how do you see the plan to develop the state institutions and the framework for that. The development of the framework does not stop. It's an ongoing process. We have visions for economic entities. We are working on it. So the system, as you have been following up within the framework of the law to improve the usage of the state's assets, to provide units as per law. We have appointed a manager as the re-establishment and reconstruction of the companies of the state to benefit to the maximum. It is another point from developing of the entities. Today we have more than 700 companies as totally owned or partially owned by the state. The main job for this unit, how to improve and develop and increase the performance of these companies to give the maximum benefit from the assets for the benefit of the Egyptian state. Final question, Mr. Prime Minister. As per the indicators of the performance of Egyptian economy, there were many meetings for the economic group, and we won't ask about the names of the companies, but is it possible that 2025 would witness some narratives and many bonds that would be offered? Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Until next meeting.